Welcome to Career Coffee Chat Live. I'm your host, CoachEUrban, certified career strategist and executive coach, helping driven, experienced professionals remove career roadblocks so you can achieve more impact, influence, and income. And I'm very excited to talk to you today about top career growth tactics. So if you are interested in elevating your career or getting more out of your job search, irregardless, you're interested in growing your career, maybe getting a career uplift or a career pivot, this is your place to be today. And I am live from sunny and chilly Asheville, North Carolina. That's right, Career Coffee Chat is on the road this week, taking care of a few family issues, as well as trying to balance work and life all at the same time. Nothing like a juggling act. And I'm super excited to talk to you today about how that juggling act might be able to optimize your career growth. So if you're just tuning in, say hi, say your name, say where you're from. I'd love to hear from you and welcome you to the Career Coffee Chat show today. And if I look a bit distracted, it's because I have this lovely bird feeder right behind the camera, and there's about 1 million birds fighting over what's left in the bird feeder this morning. So please do say hi, say where you're from if you're just tuning in. If you are watching the replay later, feel free to pop your comments or questions in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer them, and I do get notified. And share this Career Coffee Chat show with your friends. Hey, sharing is caring, and right now we need a lot of love in the world. So today I'm excited to talk to you about 3 key areas and probably a few extra bonuses along the way. Number 1, what are those key strategies you need to deploy in your job search, especially now? And number 2, the tactics you need to optimize your career growth strategies or risk missed opportunities. And finally, but certainly not last or least, top insights from my book, Elevate Your Career for More Impact and Income, which is coming out in December. These insights will help you maximize your efforts to get real results in your career and your life. So let's see who's tuned in here already. We have a few people hopping on, so nice to see you this morning. Again, if you're just tuning in, say hi, say where you're from, and also to let me know that I'm actually live, because sometimes these things don't always work the way you planned them to. So I'd love to see you this morning. So let's dive right into the first topic of our Career Coffee Chat live show. And again, don't forget there is the podcast. Career Coffee Chat podcast is on all major channels, and you can find out more about that in the event description, as well as get more information about my book that's coming out in December. So happy sunny day to you wherever you're tuning in from. Please let me know where you're tuning in from around the world or around the nation. Yes, today is election day, and regardless of who gets elected, you still need to have a successful career and a successful life path. And these tactics that I'll share with you today will help you no matter what happens in the elections today. So yes, I'm taking a big risk. I'm tuning in on election day where everybody's distracted, but that's okay because you still need this information. So let's talk about what those key strategies are to deploy in your job search to get real results, particularly during this very challenging time. Well, number 1, no big shock, you need to increase your online presence and connect to your quote unquote tribe. Now, the reason you want to do this is because we have more elevated opportunities as far as around remote work. Gone are the days where we're always reporting to an office. Even my husband, who works for a relatively traditional firm, they will probably not be coming back to the office full time ever. So the future of work has changed quite a bit. In order to make sure that you are able to optimize that future of work and make it work for you and where you want to go with your career, it's important that you have a presence. And I'll share with you a little story about myself and how I was able to accidentally stumble upon this years ago when LinkedIn first came out. In fact, I was frustrated. I wasn't seeing results in my career. And while I liked what I did, I didn't really have anybody else that did what I did at my work. I was a leader of continuous improvement for a mid-sized company. And while it was very rewarding and I loved what I did and I was seeing results, I didn't have anybody to talk to. So I felt very lonely and kind of left out. I didn't have anybody to commiserate with or chat about best practices or anything else. So at that time, LinkedIn was fairly new. So I started reaching out on LinkedIn, connecting with groups for like-minded professionals and people in the same career trajectory as I had. I also started doing things like blogging, writing articles, which was pretty scary at first. I thought to myself, oh my gosh, is anybody actually going to read this? And I got spoiled because my first article got over, I don't know, I think it's still climbing like 10,000 views. So I think LinkedIn was like, oh, we'll help you celebrate your first article. But irregardless, it helped me understand the power of having an online presence. Now, why do I tell you this? Because I kind of accidentally stumbled upon this. I started furthering my efforts in this area, started connecting with organizations that help further my career growth. Like at that time, lean.org was a major player in continuous improvement for continuous improvement professionals using Lean and Six Sigma tools. So I connected with them. I started writing articles with them, started going to conferences, meeting people, and becoming a quote unquote known in my field. Now, this helped me tremendously because I received 2 job offers through LinkedIn and through my larger network because I was a quote unquote known quantity. Not quite a industry thought leader, but darn close. So I was able to use these techniques to help me elevate and grow my career. And this was long before a pandemic or even long before LinkedIn was even that popular. So what's interesting is you can leverage these same techniques, and it's important for you to have this focus and this strategy because moving forward, we aren't going to be in the office with a whole bunch of people very much. So it's important that you be able to reach out to other professionals globally and make those connections work for you. So let's see who's tuned in so far today. Hi, Doug. Great to see you from Elgin, Illinois, tuning in. I bet it's a little chillier there than it is here. So let's see. Hi, Samantha. Nice to see you from Houston, Texas. Ahmad is tuning in. He says, morning, coach. Nice to see you. Daniel, nice to see you. Phil, great to see you as well. Thank you. Ahmad says, good starting with your story. Yes, thank you very much. But it is a very important story for you to remember because I learned it accidentally. And now I'm leveraging those tools to help my clients also become influencers and elevate their presence in their industries. But just think about it. Let's say you're making a career pivot, right? Well, that's pretty scary right now because of a really competitive market. And how do you position yourself to stand out when there's all these other professionals that have all these certifications and years of experience and yada, yada, yada? Well, a great way to do that is do what I did, become more active on the global presence, that online presence. Leverage LinkedIn, leverage your groups. So let's talk about a few strategies, how to do that and help you get that traction. So again, LinkedIn is your gateway, right? Obviously, LinkedIn is the professional platform that I encourage you to leverage the most. And take that outside of LinkedIn. Okay, LinkedIn is a great gateway, but there's more to it than that. For example, lean.org, which I found for my professional target at the time, was on LinkedIn, but they had a broader audience of their own and following of their own, right? So check out and connect with those organizations. Maybe you're a quality professional. If you're a quality professional, American Society of Quality or ASQ is great. If you're a project manager, PMI, connect with PMI. See if you can participate and volunteer as much as possible, and also see if there's an avenue for you to share your knowledge. For example, in Houston, Texas, PMI Houston has a newsletter. Guess what? Yes, I provide information to that newsletter every month, and it helps job seekers and people who are interested in growing their careers get insights into what I can help them with and give them tips and tidbits to help them on their journey. So this is important because LinkedIn is a great gateway to find out who your tribe might be, who your support group might be, but take it outside of LinkedIn too. Take it that next step. Because if we stop just with LinkedIn, while LinkedIn's amazing, we may not get as much traction as we might have otherwise if we just take it that next step beyond. So check out your groups on LinkedIn. right? What groups are active, and do they have a presence outside of LinkedIn, and are they relatively active? What kind of following do they have? Can you connect with professionals that are further along their career journey than you, that might be great mentors, either technically or otherwise, professionally perhaps? So these are great ways to connect with people and start to build your network, your broader network. As I often say, your connections are your career currency. So by all means, leverage those. So also within the social mediums, whether it be LinkedIn or maybe another engagement group or special interest group, post relevant information at least 2 to 3 times per week and increase your presence and elevate your SSI, or social selling index. Now, if you're interested in what an SSI is, I will be going over that next week and talking specifically about how to increase your influence on LinkedIn and what your social selling index is and how you can leverage it, what it means, and how you can increase it. Because yes, everybody has a profile, has an SSI, or social selling index on LinkedIn. And what that is, it's your LinkedIn ranking. That's right, LinkedIn ranks you. So if you're not as active on LinkedIn, that will be really low. And you want to elevate that. Why? Well, let's just say you're in transition. Well, guess what, folks? LinkedIn will elevate your viewability to recruiters if you're more active on the platform. It has nothing to do with whether you're a premium member. Nothing. So you want to be active. You can purchase a premium plan, and that's great. And I encourage that because it allows you to send messages to people and see who views your profile, etc. However, it doesn't elevate your views for recruiters. Having an active profile does. So you need to be active at least 2 to 3 times a week. Share relevant information based on your industry target or your career trajectory, or whatever that might look like for you, particularly if you're making a pivot. And comment on other people's sharing. What do they share? Their comments, their posts. Comment. Don't just like. I think I saw the other day that liking was like saying you don't care. Liking doesn't do anything. Use other emojis at least, but please do comment. So what questions do we have so far? Hi, Gail. Nice to see you. Tuning in from Porter, Texas. Douglas says, I need to pivot my career from convention management and hospitality to another industry. How to figure out what I'm good for, soft skills, is hard after 15 years. What ways do you suggest of working or finding these out? Doug, I suggest getting a work style assessment. Now, there's lots of freebies online, which are okay. I recommend seeing if you can connect with somebody to get something a little bit more in depth. For example, I'm an extended DISC certified professional, and I do provide extended DISC work style assessments. And what that does, it tells you a wealth of things. One of the things it will tell you, Doug, is that you will also know what your work style is, what you naturally gravitate towards, what some of your opportunities might be, and what takes energy from you, what drains you, what gives you energy. Now, why is this important? Because what we don't want to do is we don't want to focus on a career path that will drain you. That leads to disillusionment, career confusion, and unfulfillment, right? So what we want to focus on are areas that give you energy. Now, keep in mind, whatever assessment you decide to use, whether it's Myers-Briggs, which is fine, but 18 different personality types or more, a little hard to keep track of. I like DISC because it's superficially simplistic and actually goes quite deep in the information that you can get out of it. It'll also tell you how to align your work style with others and identify other work styles. So if you're in that interview and you notice that you're dealing with, let's just say, someone who is a dominant driven personality, you probably don't want to go into a lot of obsessive detail. They don't like that. They're what next people. So it helps you align your communication style more succinctly with those people and make a better impression, which is important, not only for getting a job, but for your career growth as well. So irregardless, I highly recommend you get a certified and qualified work style assessment, and that will help you tremendously. Now, a lot of people think work style assessments are brands, like you're a D or whatever, or ENTJ if you're used by a break. Okay, no. It's an indication of your energy. What gives you energy, what drains you. It is not an indication of performance. fact, I know people who are quite exceptional in areas that make them miserable. All right. So let's see. Someone just asked from LinkedIn. Sorry, I don't always know who it is, so please tell me who you are. I'm going to get into a C-level position. Woohoo! And I'm told that I'm a natural leader, but when asked what I can do to move up within the company, I get crickets. What should I do next? Find another job. So if you're in an organization and you know that you're C-level material, you know your leadership material, and you hear that a lot, yay! And what's next? So if you don't feel like there's an opportunity to move up within your current organization, I recommend seeking out other organizations. Fair? I will say that now's not a great time to do that. So unless you're miserable where you are, hang on for a little while. Let the spring come, see how the job search market does and the economy does, okay? Now, I wouldn't say that. Normally I'd be like, yeah, get on it. And it never hurts to look. And just know that it's a pretty competitive market out there right now, and it's pretty tough. And a lot of companies are holding their breath, waiting to see who gets elected before they make any decisions. So give yourself a little bit of time. But I highly recommend that you reach out to other organizations if you don't think there's an opportunity to move up within your company. Now, let's circle back. What if there is an opportunity to move up within your company? They're just not giving you any guidance. Here's the deal. You need to take the initiative. Seek out special projects. Ask what is important to your executives and how you can help them achieve it. Yes, it means taking on extra work, but it will also give you more insights into the executive strata and also elevate your visibility to those executives. Now, here's the thing. Do not overcommit. You want to be able to deliver, not take on everything in the world. So be cautious of overcommitting. If you want to elevate your visibility to executives, make sure that you take on and tackle projects that's 1, within your strength zone, 2, within your capabilities, and 3, you can deliver on. Because the last thing you want to be known for is that guy who couldn't deliver on XYZ project, right? Makes sense? Okay. Okay, thank you. So the person who just asked that is this lovely person right here. Thank you so much for asking that question. So Gail says, I like the concept of not doing work that drains you. Yes, absolutely. That is the whole point of people who work with me, is to get work that doesn't drain you and gives you fulfillment. Now, is it going to be roses and sunshine and unicorn sprinkles every day? No. I do what I love, and it's not always roses and sunshine and unicorn sprinkles every day. Like when I came to this lovely Airbnb that I'm currently staying in, I'm on the way back to Texas after dealing with some family matters. I was told that it was a 200 megabyte per second connection. I'm like, really? I don't know about that. It's not. So I was a little freaked out. So every day isn't unicorn, some sprinkles and rainbows. But what we want to do is 80-20. 80% of the time, you're good. 20% of the time, you have some things that you're not super excited about, but don't make you absolutely stunningly miserable. That's important. So please let me know what other questions you have. And for Shailena, I think that's how I try to make it sound fancy. Shailena, if that answered your question, please let me know. If you need more insights, please do pop it in the chat. I'll be happy to answer, okay? So what other things do we have to talk about? Well, here are some things. We're talking about elevating our presence online, particularly LinkedIn. I've seen a few people have some engagement boo-boos lately, some faux pas, let's just say. So when you are elevating your influence on LinkedIn, elevating your presence, posting information, and maybe tagging people, which is fine, because the great thing about tagging other people is you get to leverage your network and their network too. Woohoo! Don't abuse it. I've noticed this propensity to tag a lot of people all the time, the same people over and over and over again. It gets old pretty quick. So use it with discretion, and tag people occasionally is fine, but don't do it all the time. And please don't be that person who tags someone and then sends them a message to tell them to comment on your post. Not polite and not good. That is a breach of etiquette online. So don't tell people to engage with your post. Even if you put it nicely, don't do it. They'll see it, and if they want to engage, they'll engage. Otherwise, it's not up to us to tell other people what to do. That doesn't help you, and it burns bridges. So Also, don't beg for comments or likes. That's not pretty. I haven't seen that in a while, but occasionally that does happen. So those are a few do not do's when you start elevating your presence online, but absolutely do reach out for those special interest groups online on LinkedIn and take it to the next level. Don't just stop at LinkedIn. Don't just post stuff on the group and go, okay, I'm done. No. Do they have a website? Do they have meetings? Would they like a speaker? Would they like someone to, donate content? That's how you get known. And that's how I got known by accident. I didn't intend for it to be that way. I was just frustrated originally, and then I realized, this is pretty neat. I'm connecting with people who actually speak the same language I do and commiserate with them and appreciate the information that I have to provide. Right? So if you have writer's block, or maybe you're not sure what to do, or maybe you just don't like writing or doing videos at all, I can understand that. Just think about sharing relevant content to people in your industry or your target career niche. So let me know if you have any questions with any of that before we move forward to the next session. Okay, great. Shaylina said, yes, I answered her question. Wonderful. So if you have any questions about elevating your presence online, LinkedIn, or taking to the next level, what those conversations might look like for you, let me know, because it's a very important strategy, not only for your job search, but also for your career growth as a whole. Because like I mentioned, I was reached out for twice for 2 jobs, and yes, I took both of them because they were great moves at the great time. One came when I knew that I wasn't going to get any further in my role, and my company was struggling a little bit, so I was like, okay. And I received this connection for this interview. Hey, we saw your information. I'm really impressed with your background. Can we talk to you about a potential job opportunity? Woohoo, perfect. The next one came when the oil and gas industry went the last time, and I was able to jump ship to a better opportunity for that role. So it helps you smooth out the bumps in your job search and in your career. That's ideally what we want to achieve. That's what we want to reach for, is having people reach out to you, not constantly searching online all day and looking at job postings and then feeling discouraged because you send out your resume and you don't hear anything, right? So you don't necessarily want that. You want to try to elevate your presence, if that makes sense. So Gail mentioned, I have a passion for what I do except tax. And knowing that helps me find positions where I can do other things. Great, that's good, Gail. It's really important to know what your passion and your strengths lie. And I'll talk a little bit more about passion and why that's so important here in a moment. So let's talk about the second part of our journey together today. What tactics do you need to optimize your career growth or risk missed opportunities? Well, one of those things I mentioned is leveraging the thought leader tactics to smooth out the bumps, right? That's what I just mentioned. So what you want to do, and I'll talk about passion right now, why it's so important, is you want to understand that key intersection, like Gail just expressed, that intersection of your strengths, your expertise, and your interest. That's your sweet spot. That's where you can truly shine. And why is that so important? Well, let's look at it like this. When you go to an interview, and most interviews are online these days in these little square boxes. By the way, this little square box is your brand. Welcome to the new normal, hashtag new normal. This little square box is your brand. And when you're presenting yourself in this little square box, if you're not passionate about what you do and you're just meh about it, it will show. Okay, so when you're passionate about something, when you are truly at that intersection of your strengths, your interests, and your expertise, and you have that drive and that engagement to do something and further your career in that area, it shows out, it shines, it makes you show up so much more powerfully in that space. If you're kind of, this is what I know, this is what I've done, this is where my experience is, so therefore this is what I'm going to do, it's not going to make you shine as much. Does that make sense? So you're struggling with this concept, think about it. Okay, I'll share with you a little story. I'm, before the pandemic, not super thrilled with being on camera. Wasn't my most comfortable place to be. So the pandemic has actually helped me tremendously get over that and move on with my life. But it's important to note that the only reason I can show up the way I do on camera, online, the virtual events that I do, the presentations I do, the speaking events that I do, is because I'm passionate about what I have to share, about what I have to say. I'm passionate about helping people. I'm passionate about removing the barriers between you and where you want to go and achieving your goals. I'm passionate about these things. And if I wasn't, this would be a very different experience for you, right? You would not be tuning in at, noon or close to it, depending on where you're coming from in the US or around the world. You would not be tuning in. You would not be watching the replay later. You would be sharing this. So because I do care, it shows, I hope. So give me, a yes, you understand, or how does that resonate with you? And if you're struggling in that area, if you're like, gosh, Erin, well, that sounds great. I'd love to show up passionately and powerfully and empower my career trajectory, but how do I do that? I don't know. Well, here is a tip for you. It's very important, like I said, to find that intersection. So what you want to do is you want to write down first, make a list. So number one, you want to write down all the things that you're known for, your expertise. What are you known as a go-to person for? What do you identify with as being good at in your profession? Write them all down, okay? And number two, I want you to write down all the things that are just a part of what you do, task. If you're in accounting, probably there's that monthly regime that you go through, the monthly routine. So write down all the tasks, okay? This will become more clear here in a moment. Now, out of those two lists, which might become rather extensive, and I encourage you to become as detailed as you can because this is important for several reasons. For many, many reasons, in fact. You want to go back to both of these lists and you want to highlight the items that give you energy. So when you're doing these things, whatever they are, you feel energized. You look forward to it. It's a thing that you enjoy. And I want you to redline or strike through all of the things that don't give you joy, that you feel like an aversion to. Like, oh, that thing, whatever it is. Right? That might be creating Excel spreadsheets for you, like it is for me. I'm not an Excel person. That's why I married my husband. He's an Excel guru. So if you can identify with that, just strike through a red font everything that is an energy drainer for you. Why is this important? It's important because as you grow your career, it's important to know where you're headed and make decisions on your next move based on your energy givers and drainers, and focus on types of roles that are predominantly in your energy zone. Because if you don't, you will move through an open door into a snake pit, and you don't want that. You want to move into a space that you can, for the most part, feel happy and fulfilled. Like I said before, not every day is roses and sunshine. However, you want to be 80%, 20%, right? 80% good, 20%, yeah, it's not might not be that exciting. This is very important. You become very familiar with what gives you energy and what takes your energy away from you. It is not an indication that you have a performance issue. Okay? There's a difference between a skill that can be learned and something that you just don't want to do. I can learn Excel. I don't want to do it. Make sense? Fair. So if you have any questions about that and identifying that sweet spot, that intersection for you, let me know. Pop it in the comments in the chat, okay? It's very, very important because it will help you show up very powerfully when you're in your job search, when you're asking for a promotion, coming up with a backup to why you're great for that promotion will be a lot easier if it's something that's in your strength zone you're passionate about. So all of these things are very important. You need to be very familiar with what drives you, right? So Gail shared, she says, I do a lot of likes. Back to the don't just like thing. The reason I do is I try to find the perfect wording. I type, I read it, I edit, I read it again. I edit again, and then usually I'm done. How do you match the meaningful comment against seeing the editing as cumbersome task? Thoughts? Well, Gail, I have to admit, I'm kind of a fly by the seat of my pants person. So let's talk about this. When you're talking about engagement, so back to our first item of the day. So talking about engaging online. Instead of just liking things, how can you engage and not make it cumbersome? Well, first of all, don't overthink it. Okay, so if this is you, don't overthink it. what inspired you? Was there something that the nugget in there that's like, oh yeah, you can paraphrase. Thanks for sharing. I really liked blah, blah, blah. That was very insightful and helpful. And if you want to go further, you can. You don't have to, okay? Rule of 5, at least 5 words minimum. But you don't have to keep going. If you want to, by all means do. It's more likely that people will engage with your comment. And by the way, you can use that. So I'll talk more about that in a second. So when you do want to continue, you can also say something that, maybe that reminds me of such and such, right? Or that encouraged me to remember so and so. So you can share. That's not super comfortable for everybody, and I totally understand. But sharing a little bit on social is very important because it makes you a human being and not just a round picture, right? So what happens when someone engages with your comment or your post and they're not your first degree connections? Well, you want to connect with that person. And it's super easy. All you have to do is say, thank you for liking, commenting, whatever on my post. I'd love to connect with you. You have a bridge. That post or that comment or whatever that engagement is that bridge that helps you further your connections and expand your network. And that allows you to view their profile. There's somebody that you want to take that conversation further with. You want to have virtual coffee with that person. Maybe they're someone who has tons of followers on LinkedIn and they're well known in their industry or in their role. And maybe you can learn with that person or get tips from that person or build your network based off being connected to that person, right? So think about that. Now I have someone else says, my review is coming up. How can I prepare to ask for a promotion? Oh, great question. Yes. So how can you prepare? It's a myth that your managers know everything that you do. They don't. They really don't, unfortunately. So what we do, we have to be the entrepreneurs of our career. And I encourage everybody to think of your career growth from an entrepreneurial mindset. You have to market yourself, you have to position yourself, you have to know what your strengths are, and you need to talk, you have to market. That marketing thing is a big sticking point for a lot of people. So what I encourage you to do, if you're coming up for a promotion or any sort of performance review, think back to what you have accomplished of the prior year, okay? And think back in terms of outcomes and impact. This is very important. Oftentimes we'll go through, yes, I accomplished this responsibility, I was good at that role, blah, 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 very cut and dry and boring. Think of what the outcome of your engagements and your project work or your special work that you've done or things that you've done just as a part of your job. What are those accomplishments? What are those outcomes and impacts? How did you make a difference? And if you think to yourself, well, I just did a good job, okay, so what would happen if you didn't? What risk did you avoid? If you're in compliance or quality, maybe you avoided a negative. And if you can articulate that, that's very important. We want to come to the table armed with the impact of what we have done. Now, if you want to ask for promotion, you need to have backup to justify that request. I want to seek this position. These are all the reasons why I feel like I'm ready to take on that role. You need to be specific, and you also need to have a business case. What do you plan to accomplish in that role? That's right, you need to have a business case. It's almost like as you're an entrepreneur, you're making a proposal to a client as to why you're the best fit for whatever they want to achieve. Same process applies. You have to sell yourself. And the good news is you don't have to think about bragging or anything like that. It's all about stating facts, okay? There's no room here for bragging. So you're just stating facts. You're stating facts about what you can accomplish, but we need to make it obvious for them. We can't assume that they'll figure it out. Oftentimes that is not the case. So hopefully that helps you tremendously in your endeavors. Now, okay, so you've only been at this company for a year, but I've saved and made them lots of money and created change. Great. Well, there you go. Winner, right here, winner. So this should help you. So you need to articulate that during the performance review for your promotion. right? And this goes for anybody, whether you're coming for promotion or not. We need to articulate our outcomes, our impacts, our accomplishments, whether that be on our resume, our LinkedIn profile. Now, do keep in mind LinkedIn profiles are public, so if this information can't be shared publicly, you probably want to stay with dollars or stay away from dollars and cents, stay with percentages or something that's more safe like that. So just think about that and adjust accordingly. But you need to express these things. Performance reviews, interviews, resumes. The more comfortable you become with articulating what you have accomplished, what you have done from an outcome and impact perspective, the faster you will rise to the top, trust me. Because those people who work really hard and hope people will notice, you're just hoping they don't think you like working really hard. Okay? So let's talk about that next item. And this is straight from my book, by the way. So my book, Elevate Your Career for More Impact and Income, is coming out in December. I'm very excited about this. We're finalizing the cover right now. I can't believe it's actually here. So it's wonderful. I just went over the final edits and submitted them this morning. So out of this book, I do have some top insights to help you maximize your efforts, no matter whether you are job seeking, but particularly with your career and your life, this will help you tremendously. And it's from chapter 3, and it's called The Atmosphere to Fuel Growth. Because you can have all the expertise and credentials and education and even be able to articulate your accomplishments and with style and grace, but if you don't have the right mindset, it's hard to get anywhere with your career. So the way you unlock your potential and increase your influence is by having what I call a growth mindset. So let me know in the comments if you've ever heard of a growth mindset and what that might mean to you. So when you think of somebody who has a growth mindset, or if you consider yourself someone who has a growth mindset, what does that mean to you? Pop that in the comments. I'd love to hear from you and what you think of when you hear that. And again, keep in mind, when it comes to self-development and career growth, you can only pivot when you're mentally ready, okay? Reading a book, listening to a podcast, or even a live show like this, it doesn't automatically create this spontaneous catalyst for change. It'd be nice if it did. If that was the case, I would publish my book and ship it to everybody in the world. However, if you don't have the right mental atmosphere, it's like lighting a match on the moon. Chances are, unless you have that right mental atmosphere, that match won't burn, okay? So when we talk about career growth and having a growth mindset, it's not about reinventing yourself, okay? It does take some work to unlearn negative patterning and bad habits that no longer serve you. But basically what we do need to do is develop awareness around the mindset we're feeding, okay? Mindsets, habits, and behaviors you feed are the ones that drive you, your results, and your outcomes. Make sense? There's an Indian saying, the wolf you feed is the wolf that grows or whatever. I forget the exact saying. I'm terrible about that. But anyway. But your life is often a reflection of your inner self. Okay, so what's going on in here and in here is reflected by what kind of outcomes you get. In order to grow your career, it's important to have that growth mindset. So here's 3 out of the 5 that I go through in the book about what creates a growth mindset. Thank you, Gail. She says, congratulations on the book. I appreciate that. It's been a lot of work. And it's also, I'm super excited about this. So number 1 is what I call abundance thinking. Now, you may know of those people who have abundance thinking versus scarcity-minded people. So in many ways, our society has trained us to have scarcity mindsets, okay? A scarcity mindset is one that constantly seeks to conserve, is worried about itself, and if it'll have enough. These people don't give out much praise, if ever, and they rarely say thank you. And they also justify this because they weren't given anything first. So they justify not giving because they weren't given anything first. It's like, you give to me and I might give to you kind of people, right? They don't open the doors for others because that other person didn't open the door for them. That kind of mindset. They allow other people's behaviors to drive their own. There. Now, conversely, those people who express abundance thinking tend to give freely without the expectation of return and actually receive more than those who withhold. That's right. When you give, you return. You get much more in return. And particularly if you give freely without expectation of return, within your boundaries. Okay, I'm not advocating for you to then blow out your boundaries and just do crazy things. All right, so within your boundaries that are healthy for you. But think of it this way: how likely are you to be friends with someone who's scarce with acknowledgement, appreciation, or even knowledge? If you consider this for a moment, you'll probably see what I mean about the difference between abundance thinking and scarcity mindsets. The next one is curiosity. So be curious, my friends. And the reason for this is, if you can imagine how boring life would be if you knew everything, there would be little to look forward to. In fact, one of the nicest things someone said to me, a good friend of mine, he said, "May you always have something to look forward to." And that was very heartwarming. It was a really nice thing to say. So ask questions, be open to new ideas, have concepts, thoughts. You know, it's so important to think of change as a gift you can give yourself. So if you're going through a lot of change, and we're going through a lot of change right now, and you're struggling with this, think of change as a gift you can give yourself. Because here's the deal. We don't like it, but all true transformations come through major shifts and challenges in our life. So we don't see growth unless we challenge our status quo, right? Basically, those who are open or curious are always looking to justify their position, and they're also afraid of change. So those people who are very afraid of change and are looking to justify their mental state, their way of being, their opinions, whatever, they're afraid of change, they're afraid of being open, and they're also kind of judgy. So that doesn't come from a very good place to be. So be curious and be open-minded. Last but not least, out of the 5 that I'm sharing with you, is reflection. The power of reflection is absolutely amazing, because counterintuitively, we think experience alone is the best teacher, but that's not the case. Just because you experience something doesn't mean you actually learn anything. Have you ever known someone in your life, and you probably do, and pop it in the comments if you know these people, that experience the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and they've never learned anything about it, and they're always calling you up, and you're going, "Oh gosh, I don't want to answer the phone," and they're complaining about the same thing again. They're not learning anything. They're having the experience, but they're not reflecting on it. They're not thinking, okay, what can I learn from this? What do I need to do to make this experience move past this? So let me know if you can relate to that, or have someone in your circle who is like that, because it's very highly likely that they have never paused to reflect and learn from their circumstances or their experiences that they keep having. I love this quote from Confucius, actually. "By 3 methods, we may learn wisdom. First, by reflection, which is noblest. Second, by imitation, which is easiest. And third, by experience, which is bitterest." I really like that quote. So think of reflection as like a building mindset muscle. If you're a sports fan, you might already know that strength is not built during times of exercise and experience, right? But rather afterwards during refueling and rest. The same applies to the power of reflection. Your mindset isn't developed and evaluated or elevated in the moment. Rather, it's during times of reflection when you can think about it. So let me know what questions you have and anything else and Jesse says, "Yes, I can relate." Good. So let me know any other questions you may have. Like I mentioned before, the Elevate Your Career for More Impact and Income is coming out in December. I'll be announcing the date soon. And if you'd like to be in on the launch party, make sure you go to my website at CoachEUrban.com under books and click the launch button and become a part of that party, because we'll be having parties, giveaways, all kinds of fun things. You don't want to miss out on that. And I'll probably be doing some holiday bundles as well, so you can get some other goodies. And if you know someone, maybe you're not interested, but you know someone who you're like, yeah, that person could use a little help, it's a good time. It's a gifting time of year. And the nice thing about this launch party is you will receive the book at stupid cheap prices. So you want to be a part of that, like 99 cents. So you want to be a part of this. So I encourage you to go online and sign up, and let me know if you have any other questions. And if you're watching the replay later, please do pop your questions or comments in the comments. I will be notified, and I'll be happy to answer them. And as always, it's been a deep pleasure talking to you today from the Career Coffee Chat Live show and podcast. Podcast is on all the major channels, so do check that out. The link is in the event description, as well as a link to get in on the launch party for the book that will be happening over this wonderful holiday season. Fingers crossed, ladies and gentlemen. Today is going to be a very interesting day. We'll see what the outcomes will be, but also keep in mind this. Doesn't matter who the quote-unquote head of America will be, and when it comes necessarily to what you need to do to empower your career growth, because that lies and resides with you, and is totally within your control and in your power, okay? So Gail says, when I think of a growth mindset, I think of interview questions. Tell me about the most boring job you've ever had. Boring should not happen because you can always grow and create new policies and procedures. That's right. Great thought, Gail. That's definitely a growth mindset. There's always opportunities for change. Thank you. Thank you for saying congratulations on your book. I'm glad you found it informative. And I'm glad to have all of you in on the Career Coffee Chat show today. It's been a great pleasure. Until next time. Oh, by the way, don't want to forget, next week I'll be talking about how to elevate your SSI, or Social Selling Index, on LinkedIn, and how to elevate your LinkedIn influence leveraging these tools. Now, this is some information that I teach workshops on, but I have never shared on the Career Coffee Chat show before. In fact, I don't think I've shared it at all, hardly, outside of my workshops. So you'll be the first to tune in and learn all about it. So I look forward to seeing you next week. Ta-ta for now.